G'day, my name is James Flores, and I'm here today with a special guest.
Aaron Shows.
That's amazing. I can't believe I've met the man himself. And I first saw Aaron on YouTube, the famous Gigu Toccata.
Oh, yes.
Yes, so please tell me the story of that.
Oh my gosh.
And that's probably like your most viewed video, right?
Yeah, it was for sure. I think at this point it's close to 500,000 views. This is crazy.
500,000 views.
Yeah, but when I was in undergraduate school, I was on a choir tour, and we went to France and toured around with choir concerts, and I was the only organist in the group. So before every concert, I always played a prelude, and I played that toccata oftentimes. Mm-hmm. And just through that, got to play that piece at various different places around France, and that one was just a one-off that one time at Saint-Sulpice, and my parents were there and filmed it, and I had my teacher next to me.
That's the best asset you have on your channel.
Right, I know, right? Yeah.
You're putting all like end screens on that video too.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's like at this point, why not? But yeah, I didn't know. You just put it on YouTube and you think like this isn't going to do anything. But that's the one that's been watched way more than anything else.
Back then, we just kind of uploaded stuff and just let it go, right? We never. But yeah, it's evergreen content.
Yeah.
It sticks around. It's one thing about creating content all the time is that you can come back to it and you can see where you've progressed.
Right, for sure.
And yeah, I've seen your progress over many years. And you're never going to get to meet this guy. Here I am today.
Yeah, and at the time I wasn't even living here in LA. I was living on the East Coast, so it's like.
So what's it like playing the Saint-Sulpice console?
Oh gosh, to remember back to that time, it was incredible. I mean, just the main thing for me is anytime I'm in Europe. Playing organs like that and knowing the history behind the organs like that is the biggest thing that gives you the goosebumps, the chill bumps, because you just think of the people that have touched those keys and have played those keys that you've read about in books and you had classes in school about it, but you're actually physically in the place. So that's kind of the biggest thrill about that, is just being in some place that history has been made in your little organ world. It's like this is kind of where this is the greats have been here. So. But the other thing about that video I was going to say is that at that time, that whole month, I don't know how I got this, but I had mononucleosis, if you know what that, so it's like
glandular fever or something?
It's like a fatigue virus, and so I had that week and didn't know I had it, and so the whole trip I was sort of running on adrenaline, and so I got back home, and this was my last year of college, and I went to the doctor, and I had really swollen lymph nodes, and he said, "You've had mono for like 2 weeks now," and I didn't know. And so that video, that's the most famous one I've watched on my channel. I am like very, very sick in that video, and I didn't even know it. I was just like pushing through.
And of course, you only had one chance to do that. It's like it's literally a live performance.
Right.
Was it just like was it used for the service at all, or mass, or was
No, it was like outside of all that.
Okay. And working with Daniel right there is like,
I know.
You've been playing on the one manual.
So the whole time you will be playing on one.
The whole time. Okay.
Yes.
It's like, yep, okay, whatever you say, I'm playing the notes, you do everything else.
Right, yeah, you just handle it all. I mean, I was a young guy at the time, so it's just...
That's been so heavy. Was it heavy?
Yes, yeah. Once you couple everything down, it's like you're just pushing the weight of all those keys.
I just laugh, if you touch the top menu, you just...
I know. Yeah, the top menu is like across the room over there. You've got to go reach out for it. So...
It needs to be sampled for helped work.
Oh my gosh.
Notre Dame lost the organ, no sample set.
Yeah.
Like, that's the... At least we could have a sample.
Yeah, that's actually my biggest excitement for sampling organs, is that there's so many of these historical ones that could go away that quickly, that this technology, preserves them essentially, in the digital universe forever, and so they can never really go away. If anything ever happens to them, knock on wood, they can still you still hear kind of what they sound like. And
it also helps for like if you ever had to perform there, especially like concert hall organs. You can prepare yourself in advance, so your preparation time with the console is not, you can be more efficient.
Right. Yeah.
That's the.
It's pretty incredible, though. Yeah. I mean, that idea of being able to play the actual instrument before you go play the actual instrument, like playing it in Halbberg version and then going and playing it live is unheard of. I mean, you're thinking about back like 20 years ago, and it's like you have to actually go to the place or just practice on something, whatever you have, and hope that the reverb in the room is close enough that you can, play that way when you get
There's a
there.
nice echo here in this.
Yeah.
But what's the acoustic like for the organ?
It's quite nice. Even with the carpeting that's around the pews area, having the front here being all wood and the stone walls does help this room. So it's a 1 point something, close to 2 seconds of reverb. So yeah.
You'll have to explain why we can't play this organ today.
So the organ today is having some maintenance done that's been long overdue. In the 1970s, well, the organ was put in the 1920s. Next year will be 100. And it was put in 24. And then, so in the 70s, it had some major work done. There was pipes up in that dome up there. Well, those you can see all those black circles. There's a room up there that had pipes in it. And they took all that out and put it up front. So
the roof division?
Yeah, exactly.
The roof division.
The dome division. So anyway, they took all that out and put it up there. There's still some chimes up there. Yeah. But so the 70s was the next major work. And so here we are 50 years later. And the reservoirs that are back there, there's 8 of them, but we're having 7 of them rebuilt. Mm-hmm. And tomorrow and Wednesday, they're supposed to get put back in. So I'm looking forward to playing this again. It's been a while. So
you still have services in here?
We do,
so what do you use, a piano?
Just a piano, yeah. It's quite difficult to lead hymns on the piano.
Are you octaves everywhere?
Yes, left-hand octaves, right-hand octaves, yeah.
But you're like a professional improviser. You can...
I have to make up a lot of stuff, yeah.
I can't do that. I'm just too rigid. So
gotta follow the page.
Follow the page.
That's okay though, too.
That's one thing I've been really been inspired by. I need to Aaron, I need to pay you. Help me. I'm just so embarrassed about not being able to improvise.
It's definitely a skill that I didn't realize was useful, or I didn't realize that it was not normal to have that skill as an organist too much until I got older. I did it as a kid all the time, sort of for fun. I'd be practicing for piano lessons. I practiced maybe a Beethoven sonata, and I didn't want to learn the rest of the piece, so I would just improvise in the style of Beethoven and figure out. And my mom would be in the other room, she wouldn't know that I'm not playing Beethoven. I'm just improvising. So I learned kind of through childhood just playing in a sandbox essentially. And then as I got older, people were impressed by it, and I was like, this is something I just did as a kid, And so it's weird to sort of think back and how I learned how to do that, because I didn't think of it that way.
I suppose, over the years, I have had the courage to, improvise quiet stuff where it's not so noticeable. And before I wouldn't even dare do that. But I'm making small progress, and I think it's got to be practiced, in your own private time, just like practicing repertoire.
Yeah. Just have to do it.
Yeah, if you want to get good at it, you have to practice just like you would do written music.
Yeah, for sure. I think a big thing too about it is to not worry so much about mistakes or slip-ups and things. You just sort of have to, whatever you do, even if it's a mistake in your mind, figure out how to make that into something else. Just it's just playing without rules, essentially. Putting rules to it, which I had to do in college. Once I was taking improvisation in college for organ, they wanted to have a form to it, have an A, B, A, but I was never...
It's too rigid.
Yeah, I never thought that way. I thought I just want to start playing and I'll make up something that's...
Where it goes, yeah.
So it goes, yeah. So...
Fraser Gartrell.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he improvised a lot of stuff, and he would notate it. There's one piece, I can't remember what piece it was. Anyway, I played it, and then he commented and says, at the end where there's a seventh, and it goes, da, da, da. The thing was, he made a mistake with the interval, so he turned it into this recurring thing. And I'm like, that is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And he just laughed about it. It's that seventh was a mistake.
Yeah. But I had a teacher that did that. The rigodon, the compra?
Yes.
He played it for a service that I was at when I was probably a teenager. And on the very last A major chord, his foot went down to a G. And so you're playing the seventh of that. And so he just did a little coda. The seventh goes to the 4, and then we're going to... So, it just made that whole thing into a coda that never existed before. So
I heard a story about someone playing at Sydney Town Hall. That's a big toccata and fugue in D minor. Da-da-da-da-da-da. When he went to hit the bottom D, hit the C.
Oh.
So he turned it into an ornament. Like a trill.
Yeah. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, it's like
intentional mistakes.
Artistic discretion.
Right.
Yeah. So from the Saint Sulpice video, what kind of happened in the middle until now?
So for me, I finished my undergraduate studies in church music, focusing on organ, obviously, and then I went to grad school in North Carolina and did grad school with film music composition. So I switched completely from church music over to the film world.
Yeah.
And I wanted to always do this as a little kid, watching movies. My first one was Back to the Future. When I saw it as a kid, I was like, this is what I want to do for a living. I loved the music so much. And so I thought, well, I'll do this for grad school and really specify what I wanted to do. And so grad school was film music composition, and so I finished that in 2013, so that was 10 years ago, wow. And waited a couple of years, saved some money, knowing I had to move to LA eventually for the film industry. And so in 2016, I found this church job, which brought me out to LA. And so since then, I've been writing and performing and slowly getting into the film world, and also playing organ as a session player for film and TV stuff too. So
and tell us about your live streams, because we'll direct the viewers to
yeah, sure. So Sunday nights at 5:00 p.m. Pacific time, so whatever it is, everyone else's time. I always don't know how to say that, but I usually am here at the organ console. Playing about an hour of, it's all improvised, but I kind of make a set list of a theme of what I want to play. And there are requests are always welcome. And if it's not organ, then it's usually piano. But I usually use my keyboard for that.
I saw you did something with a Nord or something.
Yeah.
I was like, I want that.
Yeah, the Nord was,
Is that a Nord stage piano? It's got the hammers in it as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so it has a Kawai keyboard, and it's, it was a very expensive thing that I bought over COVID.
So I was like, that is good.
I didn't have the money for it, and so I did one of those 48 months of no interest financing to get it. So
it's like, I don't want to save for it. I want it now.
I want it now, yeah. So if I can get it without interest, so that's the musician way. You just you buy it now and then hope that it helps you make money to pay for it later.
It's a business expense.
It is. For sure.
I don't know how taxes work in the US, but
yeah, it's definitely
everything is deductible.
For sure. Yeah.
And I did see something about your music being in a recent movie. What's it called? The
Haunted Mansion, yeah.
Yes, Haunted Mansion.
Disney's
I haven't
Haunted
seen
Mansion.
it yet. I do want to see it. I want to take my kids to see it. So I say, I met the person that did the music.
Yeah, there's organ throughout that movie,
Yes.
which is great. That experience was really cool. That was back in May when we recorded for that. And the composer for that score, Chris Bowers, he does the Bridgerton TV show on Netflix, did a bunch of other things in that same vein. But he wanted to try the organ in a different way and try some different effects and things that I had never done before. And so the organ we recorded was the famous Fox studio organ that's no longer in Fox, but it's now in a studio in Tarzana, which is not too far from here. And that organ was used in Sound of Music. It was the wedding scene in Sound of Music. It was used in Star Trek. It was used in Patton. It was used in Home Alone movies. So it's been used in film throughout the decades. And now it's in its own studio. And so I went there to record for that. But that day, we did a whole day of recording the actual notated score. And at the end of the day, we spent an hour with effects. And so they figured out in that space, the organ blower is in a separate building from the organ, so that to have it be as quiet as possible, everything is taken away from the room. It's an amazing organ. Yeah. It's just dead silent. And so we found out a way to leave the organ on, meaning I could hold keys down and then turn the blower off. And so you could hear the pipes go out. Yeah. And so if you watch in the movie, when they go into this haunted mansion the very first time, you hear these sort of ghostly, and it's me holding A minor and it goes down, me holding D minor. But I mean, it was like you'd hold the keys and then it would take maybe 40 seconds to a minute for it to all go out finally. Okay. But they compress that so it happens a lot faster in the movie. Okay, So, but it's all organ. So.
It's funny you say that because I made a YouTube short of, the THX sound.
Yeah.
I think it's a D major chord or something. Anyway.
Yes, going up to it.
Yes, so I just had someone push it and I turned the organ off. But it didn't work that way. So I had to do it in reverse. So I had someone hold it, turn the organ on, and then I just reversed it in post.
Okay.
And that's like one of my most popular videos. I'm just like, it's not even working.
Right, yeah.
But it just goes to show what engages people, what's familiar about it.
Right. Yeah.
So I look on YouTube, studio, most search terms, THX sound. I'm like, I'm going about all this the wrong way.
Yeah.
Yeah, the wedding processional from The Sound of Music. That's another popular video of mine.
Okay.
It's like it's not. It's just they don't search for Bach or anything like that.
Right.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's amazing what things catch on, and it's usually things we don't think too much about. We're just sort of like throwing it off, you know.
Like usually good to come.
Yeah. You just did it as a fun thing.
When was the last time you played that?
I played it for church a few times.
yeah.
It's been maybe last year or the year before. Yeah, I try to pull it out once a year. But I always think about that time because I was so sick and I was in Paris and so yeah, it's got a lot of memories behind it now.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So thank you very much.
For sure.
We'll head to the chapel and make a little short video there. And,
okay.
Has a chapel organ been on your channel?
It has not yet, no. During COVID, we had some virtual services that I would record in there. We had some work done on the organ here during COVID that I couldn't use it then, and so I had to record in there. But I haven't ever used it for YouTube. So, but it's also a Skinner. So we have 2 Skinner organs in this building, which is amazing.
It is amazing. It's a backup.
Right, it's a backup Skinner organ. You know, just
get
as you do. You should have one.
Oh, and you're preparing to get a Hauptwerk set up, aren't you?
I'm building one right now, yeah. So that's in the works.
You're going to sample this?
I would love to. I have sampled some of this actually in the past, just not for Hauptwerk, for Contact.
Yeah.
And I've done some registrations and gone up the keyboard, but never have seriously gone into the details. But it would be cool to do because this organ is next year will be 100 years old. And
so will you be doing live streams from your Hauptwerk setup?
I think so. That's the next thing. So.
Unless you just have it all set up and
leave it.
Sit and go.
Yeah, that's the best part.
So we'll have to call you Aaron Gartshaw.
I thought about, I was talking to him, what was it, on text a while ago, and I said we should do collaboration videos and call it Gartshaws with my last name, just like have it. So anyway.
Yeah, well, Fraser gave me the name Jimmy Two Pads.
Jimmy Two Pads.
It sounds like I have an incontinence problem. Because I have 2 iPads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jimmy Two Pads. All right. Well.
All right.
Thank you all so much.